Hey guys and gals, sorry about all that. When I started the stream and we were chatting before the stream began, it went from start to return to studio. So I told them, I'd restart the stream again for them just to log back in. And I restarted and they couldn't log back in. So I sent another link out to them and they are getting off the system now and trying to restart it. So let me go on and get this thing all set up here. That way when they pop back in, we can get to rolling. There it is, right there. Make sure the sound's turned off. All right, there's Mark popping in. So we got one of the two. All right, we got Mark back, so now we'll wait for James. Sadly, Carl couldn't make it tonight, but we have James with us here momentarily as soon as he logs out, logs back in, and
yeah, he said just give him a minute or two. He's working on it right now.
It's a booger. It's a booger. Electronic devices. Psst, go bigger. Hey, Taryn. Yeah, I'm really gonna like this tonight. I've only talked to James for just a few minutes.
Hey, Taryn, how you doing?
And yeah, I've really enjoyed those few minutes we've had to chat. He's very, very knowledgeable. He's right there answering the questions. So yeah, I'm gonna really enjoy this tonight. Marcus. I saw that. Hey, Brooklyn.
What?
That green bottle. Thirsty Tom. Howdy.
What about it?
Arcast. Bud. Who else we got in here? That's it. If my voice starts to go tonight, guys, again, I apologize for those that are in here regularly. Send him that link that second link that I sent you, Mark. He just typed, please send me a new link.
Yep, working on it right now.
Okie doke. But for those of you who are in here on a regular basis, you know that we've been having a problem with the old big C here in the household. I went to the doctor last Wednesday and tested negative. Grandma got up Thursday morning, was having some issues. So the wife, we actually thought she had another stroke. And the wife took her to the hospital after the paramedics left here, and they diagnosed her with big C. So the wife picked up 2 home tests since I had already tested negative, and the wife tested positive and my daughter tested negative. And the wife just went back to work yesterday. And I'm taking care of Grandma now. And this morning I woke up feeling like stomped crap. So now I've managed to get it. Pretty sure. Well, no, yesterday I was feeling the effects of it. Today I just feel like complete trash. Actually had homemade broccoli and rice soup tonight, and couldn't taste it. It sucks. That stuff is good. I like that, Taryn. James, Demon Slayer, defeated by electronics. That's actually pretty cool. So if my voice goes, it's because, yeah, I'm COVIDing. But at least I don't got to taste you. What? There he is.
All right.
There he is. All right, guys. I'm gonna get the new intro started real quick. When it's over, you'll have James up here with us. Let's roll this puppy. Right, guys. Finally, we're here. 15 minutes late, but hey, better late than never. Over there on the other side of Mark, we have got James Anito, theologian. James, you want to take just a second and tell everybody about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is James Anito. I am a paranormal investigator and researcher that has been investigating the paranormal for 16 years. I am also a demonologist, so I am somebody that studies traditions, the cultural traditions and lore of wicked spirits. And I am a theologian, as you said. I have been ordained in 2 different Christian denominations, deacon as a Catholic deacon, and I was also an ordained minister for the Church of Christ. And I use my background to assess negative cases or cases that are brought to me to be claimed to be negative or malevolent. And I assess these cases and determine if what they are dealing with is evil, wicked, or negative, or just simply misunderstood, or even the human mind. And that is what I do. That is my passion. I'm a co-member of Daemonologie. Daemonologie was supposed to be on tonight, Carl and I, but Carl had a prior booking that he forgot about. And so Carl is a fellow demonologist, and he's been in the field for 48 years. And we take our both respective knowledges, experiences, we combine them. We try to take the misconceptions away of what demonology is, but then we also apply it in a sense where we try to do our best to help people with their situations that they maybe misunderstand. So that's what I do, and that's who I am.
Awesome. So how long have you and Mark been talking? Since Mark is the one that arranged all of this, and I had to jump on and scribe to Daemonologie and start watching all the. Like I said, I've been sick, so I actually dozed off this afternoon, and I jumped up, and when the wife got home at about 4 o'clock, and I'm like, oh crap. She's like, what's wrong? I said, I will watch like half of the year's worth of their videos. I got to get in there and watch another 6 months worth of videos in the next 3 hours.
Well, hopefully you enjoyed them. And then as far as how long Mark and I have known each other, not very long. We actually met through Taryn of Paranormal Brew. Taryn's been a friend of mine for many, many years. We've investigated together as well, and I have great love for her. She's a great friend. And that's how Mark and I have basically met through.
Taryn is awesome. I love Taryn. She has some of the best live stream interviews. And how in the world she has contact with these people just befuddles me.
Well, I'm quite a regular on her show, not to boast, but once a month, usually I tend to be on with my cohort, Carl Johnson. So I love to be a regular on her show because, like you said, she definitely brings it in a different angle, and she just doesn't care, and in a good way. She'll tell you how it is, and she goes there too.
Exactly. And that's one of the things I love about her is the fact that she's just straight up no holds barred. She goes in there, she asks questions. She don't care. I mean, oops, I upset you. Oops, sorry. See you later. Yeah. But she's amazing. I love her. I can't wait. Mark actually told me that she was considering coming out to the Midwest to do an investigation with us this summer, and I am so excited.
Awesome.
But since we're running behind already, and you need to be off here around 8:30 because of prior engagements and stuff. Excuse me. I'm going to go on and jump into some of the questions that I have. I know Mark has some questions too for you. And I'm sorry Carl got to miss all this abuse. I mean, entertainment and fun. I was looking forward to it. Maybe we can do it later when Carl doesn't have arrangements for something else going, and we can all do it and get together again.
Part 2, and then you know what? If I don't answer the questions good enough, you can always ask them the same ones. But let's see.
I keep them around. I gotta stick to questions here. So.
Oh, look at that! I'll answer all of them for you.
Over the last year of you guys doing your podcast and your streams and stuff, you've hit on many different subjects. How to get rid of demons, demon possessions, vampires, cults, werewolves. What got you so interested in the paranormal, the supernatural? I mean, you normally don't see a man of the cloth who acknowledges the existence of or wants to talk about it, let alone be involved in the investigation and stuff. But what got you involved?
Well, simply put, yes, I am Christian. I do follow what Jesus Christ taught, and not to get into all that because nobody really wants to probably hear about that, to be honest with you. The set point of it is I'm very eclectic. I'm very open. I love anthropology. I love psychology. I'm a student of psychology myself. I go to college for it. So I'm just very fascinated with the humanities and the folklore, the beliefs, all human society.
She's the one that we introduced.
Sorry,
James with me.
I hear an echo.
So
Is that sorry? Is that my end?
No, that's Mark talking. He said somebody put Taryn in timeout. I'm not seeing it anywhere on my master screen. Yeah, I'm not seeing it anywhere on my master screen.
Yeah, because I was just hearing it. I was hearing an echo. Threw me off. See, you told me you were gonna put me through the ring of fire. Some Johnny Cash. Ring, ring.
Yeah.
Ring,
Oh yeah.
ring, fire.
I don't know why Mark.
Or something.
I don't know why Mark's freezing up.
Yeah, I thought somebody was saying something. I don't know if it was Mark or his audio feedback.
No clue what's going on here. It's not on my end this time, at least. Yeah, Paranormal Brew guys is a regular, and I don't think. Let me see here. We'll solve this issue real quick because Paranormal Brew is a moderator. Taryn. Hey, Kentucky girl. But go on.
So,
go on with what you were saying, James.
Yeah, I apologize. So, as a child, I went through a very traumatic history. I was given up by my parents. I took it very hard. Then I was raised and adopted by my grandparents, who were Lutheran, and they would go to church every Sunday. And I hear these teachings of a benevolent, omnipotent God, and I really fell in love with what's in current day biology, the use theory of natural selection, Darwinism. And I fell in love with evolution. I fell in love with reading science, reading what people's perspectives were, even at a young age. As soon as I could read, I started reading what I could. I would go to the library a lot. I did not have a lot of friends when I was younger, but I kept to myself, and I try to teach myself a lot. But I also was very fascinated with shows like In Search of, Leonard Nimoy, Scooby-Doo, Most Scariest Places on Earth, and fascinated all these supernatural shows and movies. And it's something that really took to me, that I thought, okay, well, if ghosts are possible, which in modern society, I think 44% of people believe in ghosts in America. That's a lot of people. So, I was like, if ghosts are real, then you could determine if God is real. Because I was very angry at God. I would say I was agnostic or atheist when I was younger. I thought I laughed at people that did, and I was a very cruel child. I was troubled. I was cruel. But I really kind of learned a lot. And then when I was 15 years old, I started investigating local cemeteries and locations I wasn't supposed to go to, of course, because I was brash and stupid. But I would investigate with like a flashlight, the old Polaroid cameras you had to go send out to get, or the Fujis to get developed. I old school investigated when I was a kid. I used analog tape recorders as one of my first recording devices. So I would go out and do these things. I think a lot of my experiences were gullibility. But I think a lot of a culmination of all this from my childhood to now is what drives me and continues me in the paranormal. Like, I could expound upon how I regained my faith with God, why I went down the route of being ordained in two different faiths of Christianity. But I think really what's important is that I have experienced ghosts, what people would call ghosts or spirits. I've experienced what people would call demons by a majority. And, you know, I can put these things together and say, okay, this does exist. Very rare. I really do think, unfortunately, that more people are dealing with the psychological ailment. And that's fact. Unfortunately, it's not my opinion. But you know, there's still things that occur that are not normal, that are unknown, that could be used in the name of the essence paranormal. And that's what's fascinating, the things that we haven't discovered yet. And that's what fascinates me about the paranormal, even ufology, cryptozoology. Hell, I was on an episode of Finding Bigfoot for 5 seconds. Yippee. But I find all these things fascinating. And I think the pursuit of the unknown is exhilarating, but you can't let it as well conquer you and for yourself to change in a bad way either. You have to be objective and not become subjective.
Interesting. All right, Mark, your turn for one of your questions. I have to make a run to the water house real quick. Too much Arbuckle's coffee. But Mark, your turn. Throw one of your questions up, and I will. There's Taryn back. I don't know how you got blocked or anything, honey. I checked my master feed, and there was nothing about you being blocked or anything else. So I don't know what happened. But go for it, Mark. Your turn, bud. I'll be right back.
Mark, I can't hear you.
Mark's frozen again.
Yeah, he did. He asked no questions. So,
okay. Well, thank you everybody for sitting here in dead flipping silence for the last 2 minutes while I took care of business. Mark.
Yeah, I don't have any.
You don't have any questions?
Yeah, I don't.
Huh.
I'm not anything either. Oh, what's
I don't know. You're skipping and lagging something.
Got no background
really
noise on my end.
All right. I'm gonna go on and ask another one. Mark's getting demons crossing over. Mark and I have been doing these investigations since February of last year, and for some reason this year, I've been physically attacked 3 times. Now, the first time I was attacked, Mark and I could only describe this, and everybody can laugh if they want to. I can only describe what Mark and I heard, and he's getting ready to pop back in here. I think. It looks like he's trying to. But there he is. we were out at an old cemetery here in the county, and Mark can actually verify this. We were talking over a couple of the graves, and just all of a sudden heard this blood curdling banshee scream come out of the cornfield, and it was not 10 minutes later I got that scratch going down my back. And that was the first of 3 attacks this year. What am I hearing? I'm hearing all kinds of background stuff. What about demons crossing over? How do they so easily cross from one side of the veil to the other and back again? What instruments do they use? Can they actually use mirrors to do it? What can you tell me about demons crossing over? And what kind of demons? I mean, is it like the movie Constantine, where there's actually like 30 different kinds of demons you got to look out for?
Well, simply enough. So in the Christian sense, and there's many different opinions of it, and there's many different outlooks of it. And I'm just saying in this sense, because most Western culture is Christian. If not, they're agnostic or some other belief system. But in the Christian sense, if you look at it in the sense they are angels and there are demons, demons technically are fallen angels. Devils are evil creatures. But demons, if they have fell from the graces of God and are fallen, which was 1/3 of the heavenly armies or heavenly host, right? There are 9 choirs of angels. So that means there are 9 distinct different angels that are said to be exist in many different forms of fashion or personality. The one thing that angels are, they're pure spirit. They never had physical body. So in the way of a pure spirit, in a sense, would be like, maybe we can't see it because it is a molecule, an atom like oxygen. We can't see oxygen, right? We know it exists because we live, right? But at one point, we didn't understand it. So maybe they're unseeable in that way. And that's why we call them pure spirit, because maybe they're an emulation or a projection of some sort of mass that's unseeable. This is, of course, all speculation. But so technically, some say they would create portals, or they're interdimensional, and somehow they can warp in between realities. Like you would see in a Marvel movie, maybe something they cross something, and then they're suddenly there. Who knows the true logistics of it? To be honest with you, nobody really knows. We have speculation and theories, but so if they're pure spirit, that means they can appear at certain spots. They cannot bilocate, so they can't, they can't be at 2 places at one time. They can't have precognition. They can't tell the future. They can have a good estimate of the future because they are smart and they are able to calculate and analyze differently than we are. They're much older technically, right? In the Christian sense, angels were with God at the creation of the universe. They were already there. It's not like they were created after. They were already a part of the creation of the universe. So how demons appear or like pass through the veil, I really truly don't know how it is. I think what happens is sometimes demons linger, and they can smell or feel or sense the trauma, or somebody did something bad and it's repercussion. Because the one thing people forget to realize about the concept of God and study theology is he permits evil, because if evil exists and you truly don't love God, you will be swayed away from God, right? So if in a demon's reality is in the fact that it's presented as a trial and a tribulation, and for people that falter, it's because they let their willpower diminish, their faith diminish, and a lot of these things are repercussions of the human interaction or the human motive or mood or emotion dealing with it. If they did something wrong or they dealt with a traumatic experience, there's kind of like that entryway and the manipulated factor that this parasitical entity can do. So it is pure spirit. It never had wings. It's not the 13th or 14th century adaptations. It's not like the Annunciation where you see the Gabriel coming and tell Mary with the wings. That's just a projection to us, characteristical form that they do appear as, because that's what we want to see, or they want to show us, because we can react or be proactive to communicating to it. So I know it's long. I could really go deeper into that question, but I want to keep them very short so we have a lot of questions to be answered. But it's really extensive, theology in itself, which really bases on preternatural nature when it comes to angelology and demonology, is expansive. And then, of course, the paranormal applications. And I'm also a parapsychology researcher. I work for PPRI, which is a Canadian and New England group led by two one parapsychologist and another parapsychologist. So I work with parapsychologists as well, and I look at that realm as so there's many different ways a demon can appear, or even in some form be created by consciousness, with enough proactive thought and wanting a demon to exist. And some people like to call this the inner demon, and sometimes that inner demon is able to project in a form and matter of ESP, extrasensory perception, or telekinesis, psychokinesis, psychic tantrums. So there's many different concepts to why demon can occur.
Okay. All right. Well, your biggest fan in the chat right now, Taryn, has been throwing questions out here. So I want to get to them before I start forgetting them. Then I'm going to turn it over to Mark and let him ask a couple questions. The first thing Taryn asked is ask you about Romania.
Oh, so, not to rub it in. I think one of the greatest things that, and I don't do this for any money for people, my services are free of charge. I travel across the country free of charge. Only time that things are maybe ever covered are when I do lectures, and I have done quite a few lectures for the past 11 years throughout the whole country. And, this is, of course, not covered. I have to pay for it. Like most people, I do get discounts, of course, because I am one of the hosts. But I have the pleasure on the 125th anniversary of Bram Stoker's Dracula to have a vampire masquerade ball and a dinner at Bran Castle in Romania on that anniversary. And it's also a 10-day, all-day access pass to all of Romania's Hotel Transylvania, Bran Castle, that Vlad Tepes's castle, and so on and so on. So I get to lead that tour with Patty Negri, famous as the psychic medium on Ghost Adventures, and Father Sebastian, one of the if you see people wearing fangs that are like vampire people, he created them. So we are doing that together, and that is in May to June. So yeah, that's Romania, and I'm very excited. I've never been to Europe, but hell, that's one way to be entered into Europe. And Bran Castle, I think for me and for a lot of other people in the paranormal, that's a bucket list location that some people will never see.
Yeah, Romania is definitely on my bucket list. I mean, just even if the vampire as literature and movies have made it out to be is not what Dracul it's not what he was, but still that is like the home of legend and myth in Europe. And
to be honest with you, Vlad Tepes is a national hero there. He's on coins. He's on stamps. and the statues of him. He repelled an invading army, so they revere him. But to be honest, rural Romania still believe in the Strigoi, which are their vampire, and to this day they still believe in that, and it's very superstitious to them. So it's fascinating. Like, but the Strigoi are totally a different concept to what Western culture looks at as vampires. The Strigoi are more of like what people look at and use the word divik of the Judaistic belief of a lost soul that possesses because they don't know why they're dead, or they are it's a repercussion of negativity because they're death. Same thing, that's what divik is in that same form. So it's the Strigoi are very fascinating, and they still believe in it to this day.
Wow. Let me see here. The next thing she asked: have you ever been part of an exorcism that was sanctioned by a Catholic priest, church, or the Vatican?
No, I'll be honest. No, I have been involved with deliverances. I've been involved with blessings. I've been involved in a minor rite of exorcism, which is done over a house with demonic infestation. But I've never been a part of an exorcism. And the mere fact, and the reason why, is that an exorcist priest will have either another priest with him or a deacon of his respect. It's not that I'm not respected, but they work together. They're battle buddies. And they know each other in and out, because during an exorcism, there could go a lot wrong. And the wrong thing can be said in the wrong point of when the person's in a catatonic state, and there's psychological ramifications that could occur. There's so many things that you have to look at when you're in that situation. So I have never been involved. I've assessed cases, and I have passed it along to the church. I have given documentation data proving beyond the mere fact of empirical science to what we know with psychology and, of course, modern medicine and modern biology, that these assessments by these professionals could not determine why these situations were occurring, and then it was passed along. To give a statistical value is because I love mathematics. STEM is a great thing. That's what we live science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, right? Mathematics, you can't disprove a number. 1 + 1 is 2. 2 + 1 is 3. And I've only dealt with 5 cases of demonic activity in my time of doing this in 16 years. 5 cases. My Carl, my partner, 48 years, has as well only dealt with 5 cases. So together, that's 10 cases between like 60-something years of experience in doing this full-fledged. And that's not a lot. And out of those 5 cases, 2 were infestation and 3 were possession, transient possession. So it's not a regular thing as much people think it is, especially in Western culture. It is prevalent, it exists, but most of the time it can be sought out in a different means, and it's not what people think it is. Like someone made a comment in the chat, being scratched doesn't always mean it's negative. And when scratches do occur, there is a difference between a supernatural scratch and then, of course, a scratch of a demonic entity. And the mere fact is, a scratch by spirit will have inflammation and look like you scratched yourself, because guess what? They had once a physical body, so the ramifications of how they would appear would be like how they would have appeared if they were physical. While demonic, once I said, like if they were of an angel, they were of pure spirit as well. Pure spirit never had physical body. So the manifestations of what would appear on your body would be like cutting yourself with a razor blade. And I don't ask you guys to do that because it's not fun. But there are 2 distinct differences between being cut by a razor blade and scratching yourself with your fingernail. And most of the times people will have those incisions. And that's a real good indication that they're not dealing with a demonic entity.
Okay.
Well,
Mark.
it seems like just like when you and I went on that investigation in summer, you got scratched, Drew, at the cemetery.
To be
Yeah,
honest, most scratches. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, the first one there at the cemetery he's talking about, it was impossible for me to scratch myself because it literally went from the top of my shoulder blades down my spine. There's no way my arthritic butt is getting an arm back there to scratch myself, no matter how hard I try.
Yeah.
And now the other two I could have done myself. One was at the bottom of my left ribs, and one was across my chest up here. But you know, when you got coats and shirts and layers on, it's kind of hard. Yeah, you know, I don't.
Well, most scratches are not negative. There's a way of communication, because can a spirit have enough force to slap you, or have enough force to communicate and create a sound wave enough impeccable to reach our way of hearing, which is not very low in the decibel count. So you know, we can only hear a certain frequency, and it is said that, of course, why they are caught in white noise and on digital recorders and analog is because it hits another level of frequency, encodes it, and allows us to hear it at the frequency we need to hear it at. So, in that sense, right, a scratch could easily just be a means of way of trying to get your reaction and saying, "Hey, I'm here." And I've seen this. I've seen this reaction. We were at Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, a bunch of us, like 10 of us. It wasn't a public event. Actually, it was a public event, but we had our own private night. And Keith Bailey was behind me. I don't know if you guys know Keith, but very good guy. And then myself, and then Sean Bovea. And he's a cool kid. He works for ID of Bethesda, so he's a big gamey. I love him very much to death. And I see a scratch appear right on his neck, like manifest right by the eye, like didn't touch himself, but a scratch appeared. And everybody's like, "Oh, whoa! We even have it on video." And the crazy thing about that is that there were negative experiences that we dealt with that, but we, in some totality, think that it was something just trying to say, "Hey, I'm here." And sometimes that kind of reaction is what you need. But people, what happens? It's unknown, unbeatable. They jump to, "Oh my God, it's evil. This thing's out to get me." But in reality, it's probably not what is occurring. And we jump to the conclusions, and we see Insidious, The Conjuring. We see all these Poltergeist. We see all these movies that interpret it as so. And that's what races to our mind instantaneously, because it's what we've been trained to comprehend.
And you know, it's really cool that you made that. And I'll let Mark go on and do his questions here in a second. But when you was talking, Karen actually had put something up there about so happy that he's saying all this because all the shows except Ghost Hunters, it always winds up being demonic. So yeah. Wonderful. All right, Mark. Shoot, brother.
James, last night with your guys' live stream about the angels, which that was really good. I've just had a question with Christian demonology. Is it closely related to angelology?
So yes, demonology is not even a direct path off of theology. There's many disciplines of theology. Some of the name off right off the top is Christology, which of course is the study of Jesus Christ or Christ. And there is Hamartology, which is the study of sin, which is a fascinating study. And of course, then there's angiology, which is, of course, what we kind of dabbled upon last night. And then from angiology branches into demonology. So demonology is a subsector of a subsector of the main sector, or the from the trunk line, it is a branch, then a leaf, right, of that branch, or twig. But so demonology takes a lot of the incorporation of what angiology is, takes what, of course, the light and what would it perceive if it became dark. But the great thing about Christian angelology and Christian demonology, or the study of theology in itself, because that's not just the study of God, it's the study of religion, and there are many religions, is that every culture has had a concept of angel and demon in their belief systems. Hinduism, the oldest modern day religion, still exists. I think it's the fourth largest religion. I think it goes Christianity, Islamic, and Hinduism. Or actually, I think it's three. So it's still one of the largest religions out there, and they still believe in demons. And their name is Azoras, but the same concept. Their gods and goddesses fought demons every day. It's part of their scriptures, if you read it. So it follows every civilization that's had some dualistic belief, either polytheistic belief or monotheistic belief. There's always been a dualistic nature to those faiths and those belief systems since like Mesopotamian and Sumerian times. Zoroastrianism, which was the foundation of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, was really the precursor. Zoroaster really loved talking about angels and demons and all that. And that was like, I think 3,500 years ago, if I remember correctly. And that, so it's very fascinating to research it, to see how it has transitioned from different belief systems, but how even the Christian interpretation is so expansive. It really is.
Now, with a follow-up question with that, this world have many nations. Does a lot of nations believe in demons? Is there any that does not believe in them?
So I would say the only really faith systems that I know that don't believe in it in the major categories are Buddhism. They don't really necessarily believe in a spiritual deities or entities like that. A lot of Eastern culture does, like Hinduism does. Shintoism of the Japanese belief system, they do. But Buddhism is a variation in difference. It's more a way to live a life than. So it's really not even a religion. It's more of a philosophy. But it is technically a religion in many people's belief. So I would say Buddhism, but mostly African mythologies or African cultures believe in angels and demons. South American cultures, like native tribes, believe in angels and demons. Western culture, like the North Americans, believe in it. Most European cultures as well. The Gaelic, the Irish, they used to, they believe in fairies, which are like creatures. The Islams believe in the Divics, which are lost souls, but they believe in the jinn as well. And the jinn are many different concepts of an elemental, which from are benevolent but malevolent. So there's so many different concepts and similarities. So there are a few that are major that don't believe in it, like I said, Buddhism. But then, of course, Scientology doesn't believe in demons, but they do believe in negative extraterrestrial forces. And it's, of course, a bunch of bullshit. Sorry. But even those fakeries, even those cult-like religions, belief systems, they have a good and evil dualistic nature to it. So,
now,
man, I am so relieved you said that. Oh my gosh, I'm so relieved you said that.
What, Church of Scientology is bullshit?
Yeah, well, I don't tell a lot of people that I'm an ordained minister, because my lips tend to get away with me at times, and I say all kinds of things that a minister shouldn't say.
Well, Church of Scientology is I don't know how people still get followed. They love L. Ron Hubbard way too much, I guess, and the kinetetics I think they believe in or something like that. I forgot what it was, but I read some of their stuff. It was great, and then of course watching. But no, yeah, the Church of Scientology is to be honest is like kind of like what is it? Any of those other cultistic, like they put you so much money into kind of thing, like that. I know people say, oh well, the Catholic Church, they don't force you to donate millions of dollars. They ask you for donation. You can say no, but they might look down upon you by saying no, but it's not required. It's not mandatory for you. It's not mandated for you to go to mass, a communion, and donate money. But Church of Christ, to be a member, you got to pay lots of money.
Oh, yeah. Believe me, I'm familiar with the Church of Christ. Not only is their big main center down in Tennessee, not very far from where I come from, but yeah, I used to, once again, because of somebody I dated, I attended the Church of Christ just in time to see Randy Travis touring from Church of Christ to Church of Christ to Church of Christ.
It's crazy, man. Can I hit a question Andrew asked, or a statement actually. He says Buddhists have a black magic sect known as the Dubas. I think I said it right. But what's fascinating about that is black magic is not a religion. It's not even a mantra of there being preternatural forces. Magic in concept, like if you look at Aleister Crowley, is expression. It's throwing intent out into the air and it becoming a reality, right? Sometimes that doesn't even have to take a ghost or a spirit or a demon for that to occur. So yeah, black magic, yes, every culture has had their black white hat sect like formula to it, but that doesn't mean that they believe in like demons. And like if a Buddhist says they believe in a demon, then they're not a Buddhist. It goes against their teachings. So that's. But yeah, it's a good point. Not a lot of people know that. Like, see, hey, Hindus, they have the fervor dagger, the kila, and that was one of the first ever exorcism rituals to ever exist. So what would happen is the fervor, the kila, is a dagger. They would not stab of course, the possessed individual, but what they would do is they would use this dagger in a sense of like warfare, and it would kind of absorb the demonic entity out of the individual, absorb into the dagger, and for the ritual for it to disperse the demon to wherever it went, back to, they would stab it into a rice bowl and it would disperse. That's how they would expel the demon from the dagger, or they would stab into the ground. And so it's it's crazy to think like that. The Hindu monks that that used to do that. It was one of the first forms of exorcisms to ever exist in humanity.
Wow. Mark, you want to fire up another one, or you want me to ask the next one?
Yeah, I got one more, and then Drew, you can
Okay.
go next. With the Irish culture, with the Banshees, do you consider their culture as their version of the demon, or what is your opinion on that?
Well, banshees?
Yeah.
So banshees are hallowing, tend to be female, a hallowing spirit that is in the same concept as a Divik or a Strigoi. Banshees, of course, aren't like vampiric where they suck your soul. Or some say, they actually say in the Eastern cultures like Shintoism, banshees are said to steal a soul. Like technically, the girl from The Ring, she's technically like a banshee. Like she's a lost soul because of her death. She's coming at you in vengeance. In reality, there's no name for it, but that is in the same form of a banshee. The English viewpoints of it, which is the prevalent thought pattern of banshees, is a wallowing woman that usually probably was killed, undeservingly, and she came back in vengeance against males or a woman, and that wouldn't be demonic. It would be a negative spirit or a negative residual haunting that could be a banshiric. It could have it could attack, like it could exploit, but it could be like a recording. Like some people get hurt from hearing certain musics because it hurts their feelings. Maybe some emotion plays to that individual in there in that setting that hurts them. So yeah, banshees are not demons.
Drew, you're up.
I was gonna say silence.
Had to refill my coffee cup.
Is that a crappy answer or not? I'm just kidding. But it's the truth, though.
Actually, I liked it. I've always wondered about that myself. So, you know, I would have never associated the little wet girl with being a banshee, but you know, every time I think about The Ring and the little girl from The Ring, I think of what is it, Scary Movie 4, when the tape's being passed. Cindy, that little white girl fell down a well.
Oh yeah, I get you.
Let me see here. So often in paranormal investigations, when people are using voice boxes or other equipment, Satan pops up. You know, who is here? Satan. Okay, well, fantastic. Is it really Satan, or is it a minion, a demon, a dark energy just trying to put the fear of the devil into somebody?
I would say 98% of the time it's something intelligent, or even a false positive with radio frequency or some sort of frequency that maybe occurs. But most of the time it's an intelligent spirit poking fun, or a negative entity or spirit using that terminology or using that as a placeholder. Because guess what? Like I said, we like to jump to the worst case scenario sometimes, and when we hear that, it startles us, and we either enact fear into it, or we get boisterous and questionable to it, and maybe even sometimes provocative with it. And it kind of like the intelligent spirit. Like if I was a jerk and an ass, and I wanted to entice people and get them going, I'd be like, hey, I'm saying this, screw you guys, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'd run my mouth. I would say, oh, I'm this big bad guy. And it works for some people, and for some people it doesn't. So, like, I've always heard, like, oh, I got Aziel, I got Beelzebub on the recorder. Well, and I'm gonna probably tell you all, for one, in demonology, a demon is parasitical. Like a parasite you cannot see in your body, it's in that same concept. It is manipulative. So it is going to do everything in its power to not give to you who it is, why it's there. It's going to lurk in the shadows. It's going to manipulate from the shadows. It's going to ploy into you believing it's something as a family member or relative or a deceased individual of the property. It's going to use these ploys for you to become enamored and to seek communication or have some sort of invite to it. So it's going to use those essences. So most of the time, no, it's like I said, most of the time it's no, it's just a regular spirit intelligence, or it's a false positive with data. But yeah, no, if you hear Satan, don't run away.
Hey, Paul. Head's plugged up, ear infection, got their COVID. Join the club, brother. I'm getting over it myself. You know, well, no, I think I'm right in the middle of it now, because it's like I was saying at the beginning, the wife warmed up some awesome broccoli rice soup tonight, and I couldn't taste a bloody thing. I just had a mouthful of hot. So I hope you get to feeling better, Paul. Take care of yourself, bud. And prayers are with you, man. Prayers are with you. Let me see here. Being on Satan himself is never going to come. Donkey to a spirit box.
I've seen that, yeah.
It's an animal.
Yeah, if Satan came in front of you, I think the worst thing you'd have to worry about is it coming over a ghost box. I'd probably have to say that even the greatest of demonologists or exorcists, if they came across Satan, I would say good luck.
Wow. A lot of times when you see exorcisms or purifications or something like that being done, it's being done by a priest. Now, to my understanding, don't they belong to a certain group of priests? that the Vatican recognizes to do exorcisms and home purifications and stuff like that? And if that's not the case, can anybody who is a person of the cloth, a minister, a pastor, whatever, can they perform purifications and exorcisms?
So every major religion has a form of exorcism, including the Christian faith system. In non-Catholic belief, in the non-Catholic denomination, in other Christian belief systems, they would call it a deliverance, or baptism of the Holy Spirit, and exorcisms come in play. The solemn rite of exorcisms and the minor rite of exorcism comes into Catholicism. And why a priest would generally be the individual doing an exorcism is because an exorcism has mass. Communion is said either before or after the exorcism, and the only person that can, and of course, when it comes to the Eucharist, only person that can do the transubstantiation of the host is a priest, because they have been receiving those holy orders to do so. As far as an exorcist, it could either be enunciated through the Vatican or a local diocese by a bishop, because exorcism is not a sacrament; it's a sacramental. Technically, any person that has received holy orders, even a deacon, could perform an exorcism. But the only way a deacon like myself could perform an exorcism, because it is a sacramental, like as holy water is a sacramental, and I can, of course, bless holy water because I, as a deacon, one of my sacraments that I can perform is baptism, and of course you need water for that. And it's actually one of the most important sacraments of Catholicistic belief and most Christians. So, as a deacon, the only loophole that I would need to perform an exorcism, and I would never. There are many more qualified individuals and that to do it. Is the host would already need to be the host would already need to have, of course, Christ within it through the transubstantiation. So if the host was blessed already, then I could distribute the wafer, the host, to the individual and perform deacon's mass instead of traditional mass. So there are those loopholes, but of course, that is why a priest does so. And most of the time during exorcisms, there is two priests actually. And one of the greatest interpretations of this is, of course, the movie The Exorcist. One of the worst interpretations of it, but a great interpretation of two priests working together. And another movie that I think is one of my utmost favorite movies, and a great book and great story, is The Rite. And in the movie, it's Anthony Hopkins and another priest. And the reason they do so, why there's two priests during exorcism, is because the fact of transference, which is a psychological term, as like a therapist could take the transference of emotion of their client, so can the priest of the person that's doing performing exorcism of an individual, transference of the spirit, the demonic entity jumping from the demoniac, the individual that's afflicted, to the exorcist priest. There is a good chance, or a small chance, depending on the severity of the case. And the other priest is there to perform an exorcism on the priest if need be, or to perform mass if need be, in an emergency situation. So there's a lot of technicalities to it. But like I said, I'm not an exorcist. My speciality is the study of demonology and applying that study. So I'm a mediator, let's say, between an exorcist and a client, if need be.
Oh, okay.
Because the Catholic Church won't sanction an exorcism without proper documentation, like I was saying earlier. They need a psychological evaluation. They need to see their primary care physician. There's so many steps that are required before the Catholic Church will sanction an exorcism.
Yeah, I know that a lot of us, the only connection that we really have with the Catholic Church or exorcisms and stuff are, of course, from Hollywood. And yeah, I think oh, the Conjuring, the deal with them, happen to have documentation after documentation after documentation to get somebody authorized to come in and do everything. Conjuring 2, I think it was. They were over in England.
Yeah, so well, that's a bunch of bull. To be honest with you, that never truly happened. They never had. That's all movie.
Yeah, which is why I said our only connection
Yeah.
is Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm just embracing the fact that it's all baloney. Like it's called the Enfield poltergeist case, not the Enfield demonic case. You know, there's a difference between a demonic entity and a poltergeist, people.
Yeah.
And that came with a bunch of baloney too, because even the sister came out and said that a lot of it was enactment on their part. You know, and you know, like the famous levitating photo, that was fraudulent. That was them jumping. They came out and said it. They retracted on their story. But once you come out as a liar, like out of your own kind of like formality to do so, then how can you, when you retract, how can you believe in that story again? It's like when the Fox sisters came out as fakes, frauds, and then they try to retract and say, "Oh no, we really had these abilities. We never used our toes to make raps." How can you retract on that? Like at that point, you're already a fraud.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, we only got about 15 minutes left already. One of the very first videos that you guys done for your channel, which, by the way, if you want to pop up in the chat and put your channel link in there so folks can find you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I already did. I commented earlier, so people, if you scroll up, Daemonologie, that's our YouTube.
But one of the very first videos you guys done was alien abduction, demon possession.
Yes.
What? And I'm going to ask you, not knowing your personal feelings on extraterrestrial intelligence and stuff like that, what is the difference?
Well, the key difference is that one is a celestial being, and two, the other one's an extraterrestrial being, most likely either of some sort of non-physical body or physical body from another planet that has traveled here and has sought out to assess and document the human condition and the human body, while demonic is a pure spiritual being that possesses an individual to mock humanity because it feels like that we are lesser creatures and non-deserving of our physicality. You know, there's so much that they were physical. Even though we were made lesser, there's jealousy. There's also they want to disrupt our faith in God, while an alien does not care about our measly faith and belief. They care about what we are and why we are here, or how we exist, and they monitor. That's big difference about alien abduction and demonic possession. Very similar. And that first show, I'm going to give the credence on that first show. That idea came from a lecture that I did with Frank Sinelli, Dr. Spector. And we did alien abduction meets demonic possession. And that's what the idea generated from. But it was a great spin for Carl and I to do it. But to be honest with you, as a personal experience real quick, I actually was called into a case that they believed it was a demonic entity. And then I got MUFON involved because I felt like, oh no, this is a different wheelhouse, guys. This is something beyond my full comprehension. I'm knowledgeable in that sector, but I also don't do it every day like they do in MUFON, you know? So it's happened.
Okay. This is the last question I got, which is good because we only got about 12 minutes left.
I'll answer a few more, especially if Mark has some.
When a person crosses over, when a person dies, and then they're brought back, especially multiple times, do they come back complete? Do they come back a changed spirit?
Are you talking about reincarnation?
No. I'm talking about like a person.
I think reincarnation.
No, when a person is like terribly sick, they die in the ER, they're brought back, they pass again, they're brought back. Are they brought back complete? Do they come back changed? Do they maybe open up more to the other side of the veil?
I think it's perspective. How you look at it in perspective. For what people see as the light tunnel before they're during their death or is actually a brain function. It's a psychological occurrence that happens when like funnel of light comes to us. Mind, emotion, memories. That's something that has been done in lab studies, and we've been able to document this by the scientific method. And so, even though still a hypothesis, still there's no conclusion to it, no defined answer to what happens after life, after death. It's still a very fascinating search, and for us to maybe one day understand. But if you take the psychological aspect of it, and when they do come back, I would assume because of their human pathology, the biological makeup would be different, because once you die, there's something different about you at that point anyway. Your body's not working to the full degree it was. So there's going to be a lot of pathology issues within yourself on how your body works. So yes, in that self, you'll be different. So your mind will probably work differently, especially if something of yourself had died. If it was your mind that shut off, then there'll be differences, maybe confusion of what occurred, and that would create circuitry, neuron, with the axons. Maybe there would be something with synapses issues. Who knows? But there probably will be a difference to you. And I think that's why when people say they die, have these near-death experiences, that they open up, is because I think everybody has the ability to open up. We all have the pineal gland, which is a fascinating thing, and something back to Hinduism, which they considered the third eye. It used to be a dead gland by modern medicine and science, but now we know the gland actually releases melatonin, which is, if you know what melatonin is, it helps you calm and then goes to sleep. You go to sleep because of being calmed from the melatonin. So it's fascinating that it calms you, right? Because when we meditate is when we're supposed to be able to, of course, either channel or speak to spirit as a medium at a better rate, because we're, mind over body. We're not letting the outside world influence us. So it's all fascinating connections. But I really don't know what happens after life. I think that there is hope for something good, but at the end of the day, we could also just die and be in a casket and then perish away that way and never have a consciousness again. But merely if that is what occurs, or there is a good, that doesn't detract that you should stop living life and being good and experiencing something new every day. Because if life did just end, make it worth it. And if it didn't, still make it worth it. And then cherish the good that you did, and hopefully the loved ones you're with again in heaven, if heaven does exist. And I'm not saying it doesn't, because I really hope it does. But I also do not know it does. I've never been there. And I'm an analytical person. I have to see to believe it.
Well, Andrew just brought up a really good point just a minute ago. And with my own experience, a lot of my people already know about this. Mark knows about it. 10 days after my wife and I got married back in 2016, I went into diabetic shock. And we had no clue I was diabetic. There was no clue, no symptoms, no nothing. but they wound up taking me to the hospital and up in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I flatlined in the ER. They pulled me back. About 5 minutes later, I flatlined a second time. They pulled me back, and then I started to flatline a third time. They put me in a medically induced coma. And Mark and I have been on many, many, many investigations where the spirits have said that they're looking for my soul. They can't find my soul.
Mm-hmm.
Where is your soul? And I've been very fearful that part of me stayed behind. You know, that I became part of the ether sphere when I was there, because we've also been in investigations. One of them just this past weekend. Tommy Tombstone and a few of the other guys. Mark wasn't able to go, but we went and done a haunted hotel up on Lake Michigan, and one of the spirits called me by name, and then when one of the guys said, "Oh, do you know Drew?" they came back and said yes. And so things like that just kind of weigh on you when something like that happens. And that's why I was wondering, you know, does a part of you stay behind? Do you come back with special gifts? Do you come back lesser than what you are? So that's why I was asking that.
Yeah, it's hypothetical though. You know, there are, you know, I know people hate science and hearing empirical evidence and mere fact, because everybody wants a supernatural occurrence to exist and occur, and they want things to happen as it is. But I'm not saying it doesn't occur. I do think that when you die or have near-death experiences, it does unlock a piece of you. Sometimes maybe you are different, either by soul or physical nature. But I've never experienced those things. I had a near-death experience. I'd get my parents to tell this story if nobody believed me. I'm allergic to penicillin. I used to get sick every Thanksgiving when I was a kid, and I forget why, but they decided to give me penicillin, an antibiotic, and they found out I was allergic to penicillin by me seizing up and dying. But I never had experiences. Remember, like I said, I was pretty agnostic when I was a child, so maybe my mind did not jump to the light or God, but maybe for some it does. I don't know how it occurs. You know, if there is a truth and true factor where people do see God, talk to God. I've never had that experience. You know, I never know. I hear and take people's stories, and unfortunately, sometimes, and I'm not saying yours, Drew, but sometimes for people's stories, it's fraudulent or masqueraded in story. There's some truth to it, but a lot of it is a concoction. In your situation, as your soul, I would say, unless you don't feel different, why be fearful of it? You know, you're still here. You're here for a reason. If there is a piece of your soul missing, then, you know, hell, it looks like you're still kicking ass, my friend. So, you know, that's all that matters. Keep at it. And, you know, if you unfortunately meet your end, and hopefully another 40, 50, 60 years, my friend, that, you know, you come whole again. And that's what matters, you know, like you can't be fearful of something that you truly don't understand or know. Like, as long as you, like I said, if you can think and you're not a vegetable right now, and you can think and you can do and you can live, that's all that matters.
I hope I live another 40, 50, 60 years.
Sure. Are you 62? 60?
That'll make me.
How old are you? 50?
I'll be 54 in October.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you can live another 40, 50 years. You'd be 100 something, but right?
Bring this guy on for one frickin' visit and look.
Hey,
what are you, 60, 61, 62?
I said you're going to live another 40, 50 years, man. That's a great compliment.
Well, James has to live with us now, you asshole. Let me see. Oh, yes, Karen, I'm the same way. I love science. And when we go out and we do our investigations, especially when it comes to seeing whatever you want to call it, an orb or whatever, I always want to try to find a scientific reason behind what I'm trying to see. And that's why it takes me and Mark 2 hours to film, and it takes me 14 or 16 hours to edit, because I'm sitting here and I'm going over every 30 seconds of film over and over and over again. I'm running it through a word recognition program on the computer over and over. And I want to make sure that everything is just right. And I've done videos where, you know, we got this beautiful, you know, this far away, the camera got this beautiful orb that flies up right in front of the camera and comes around, and I'll sit there and I'll look at it and I'll zoom in and I'll zoom in and I'll zoom in, and you can start to see the outline of little wings. And it's like that perfect orb from 10 feet away became a moth at 2 feet away.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, I'm constantly looking for a scientific reason, even though I'm not a skeptic. I grew up in haunted houses, guys. I grew up in a house that started off as a one-room cabin that the first person died in it in the 1880s, and then there was 2 teenage girls that hung themselves in it in the 30s and 50s. So believe me, I grew up with the supernatural right there in our house, and of course my mom and dad still to this day, it was just your imagination. So it was just your imagination, Mom, in 1972 when Grandpa died in the middle of the night and you woke up with him standing next to your bed at 2 o'clock in the morning. That was a dream. Pretty damn accurate dream, seeing as how he died at 1:30 that morning. So, but all right, guys. What?
Well, to be honest, Drew, and this is not to say it because I think it is an important piece, and I think people take it wrong when they hear this. For people to see ghosts, it does take for somebody to have imagination, to be honest with you, because I've met many people that were so authentically against it. I call these people neutralizers. I've been to the most haunted locations. Every time I've gone, there was an experience. One time this person goes, nothing, because they're so against it. Like, look at, we're talking about like spirits and of course having near-death experiences. Houdini was one of the most prolific individuals in our life, and he was against psychics and mediums. He was like the James Randi before James Randi, right? Houdini. And Houdini said he'll contact his wife after death. He would try his hardest to do so if there was life after death. Guess what? She never got a message. And she was always adamant saying she never did. But she was also littered in Houdini's life. She did not possibly believe that it happened and didn't have an imagination for it to allow it to intercept her mind for there to be communication. There has to be an openness. Imagination is openness. It's not always a bad thing. For the biggest lyricists in our life, they had imagination. You know, Charles Dickens. The reason we celebrate Christmas the way we do, but one of the first paranormal investigators to ever exist, part of the Ghost Club in 1860, he was a paranormal investigator. One of his first writings was called A Haunted House. And you know what? It takes an imagination to deal with these things, but that doesn't take the fact that it could happen. But there is a reason that some people are able to experience it and not experience it.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. So Mark, do you have anything else for our guest?
That's pretty much about it. James, thanks for taking your time and coming joining us. So
yeah.
Also got to do a shout out to Taryn from Paranormal Brew for introducing me to you. So, Taryn, thanks a lot for that.
You
Appreciate it.
sure you don't want to ask a question, Mark? Before I know a lot of people are saying, have Mark ask some questions. I'll answer 2 more questions if you have 2 questions.
I do have one more question here. Say that someone wants to get into demonology.
You asked that question. I got to go back to Waterhouse.
Say it again. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. For anyone that wants to get into demonology, where or how should they get started?
The first thing that they should get started in is understanding why they're getting into it. If they think that there's some fame and glory and they're going to be the next Ed Warren, then that's the wrong reason of doing it. But if it really interests you, understand why you're getting into it, what the foundation of it is, why your involvement is in it. And once you figure that out, I would reach out to somebody that is a respectable demonologist. There's no licensure. It's not like you can look up in a database and say, who's the closest demonologist? That does not exist, does not occur that way. But what you can do is reach out to people that have a background like myself or who is respected or renowned, and reach out to those individuals and ask if they can mentor you. I do mentoring all the time. Some people last, some people don't. It's sometimes a little bit of knowledge they want to hear. So, reach out to a demonologist that's well respected. If you're interested in the ministry aspect of it, there are legitimate ways to go about this. And like myself, I don't have a master's or whatever, but I have associates in theology. You can go and get a degree in theology, and that gives you a good basis of demonology as well. There is a course in demonology in theology classes. So you can go that route. But, really, like I said, understand why you want to do it. Then reach out to somebody that can give you that knowledge. Of course, reading books, being eclectic, reading different perspectives, understanding different belief systems. So there's much you can do, but there's nothing better than learning from somebody that can either point you in the right direction or expound upon your thoughts and ideas. And of course, as well, show you the real life setting if that's something they want to do, which dealing with the demon's terrifying. And, it will turn most people away, to be honest with you. But yeah, that's the way if you want to become a demonologist. What I would do, like Carl Johnson, who I work with in Do It Ain't Well, he was my first mentor, and so and that's how I started out. So I would tell the same people, do the same thing.
So what's coming up for you and Carl in the future, James? I know you got plans. We're running a few minutes behind, so I'm going to end it with an easy question.
I know you got an event coming up in Michigan.
Yes, so March the 4th and 5th, I'll be in Michigan. I think, is Wisconsin Rapids in Michigan, or is that Wisconsin? I don't know. Actually, no, Wisconsin Rapids is in Wisconsin. That's a stupid thing. I forget.
You're by Holton Lake.
Holton Lake, with Tim Miley's event, Photographic Pooches 3. I do know the name of the event because I'm very good friends with Tim. But yeah, Photographic Pooches 3. You can seek it out. It is March 4th, March 5th. I will also be doing an event at the Hinsdale House with Carl sometime in March. Let me look at my calendar. I'll live these days off. March is a busy month for us. So March 5th is Tim Miley's event in Michigan. And then March 19th is the Hinsdale House in Hinsdale, New York. And then March 26th will be Rochester, New York for Winter Parafest. April 2nd, Carl and I are hosting an event at the Hoover House outside Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And then there are so many more. You can reach that information on Facebook or demonology.org or jamesanito.com. But demonology.org will basically give where Carl and I will be. So demonology.org, and that'll give you the whereabouts of where we will be in the upcoming months.
Cool.
But thank you guys.
Cool.
I appreciate you having me on, and I would definitely love to be back on, especially with Carl. And
Our pleasure.
It'll be like the Thriller in Manila when we come on.
Most definitely.
Well, guys, have a good night.
We'll arrange something in the future. You do the same. Take care of yourself. We'll see you later.
Yeah, take care, James.
All right, guys. That's it. I'd like to thank our special guest, James Anito, for coming on and talking with us. He actually stuck around for about 10 minutes longer than he planned on. He had an engagement he had to take in at 8:30. Thank you for sticking with us a little longer, James. It was great, and most definitely we'll have you back sometime in the near future with Carl, and we'll get even more in depth into some of the things that you guys have gone out and done, some of the things you're going to be going out to do in the future. But that's it, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight for this special stream, and our guest, Marks. Thank you for co-hosting with me.
Oh, it was a pleasure, Drew. It was fun. Sorry I had a little mishap with my camera and all that, but got it to work.
Technology. Can't live with it. Can't do what we do without it. So, but all right, guys. That's it for tonight. Y'all take care of yourselves. Have a good weekend. Don't forget to check out the video that I put out today on the legend of Theodoros Bridge in Kansas. There's a lot of history and there's a lot of mystery in that video. It definitely explains exactly what parahistoric studies are. So that's it. And have a good weekend, y'all. Take care. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. God bless you. God love you. We do. We'll catch y'all on Monday. Y'all have a good evening.